Hey, how's it going, folks? Welcome to the Coach's Corner. We are back here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. Nate Mullins, we are live here with Coach Judd Lutz. How we doing, Coach?
Fantastic.
All right, so folks, I got to thank our sponsors before we really get into the content here. We do have a few sponsors to thank this year for allowing us to bring this show to you. We want to thank Xcaret Mexican Restaurant, Your Legacy Federal Credit Union, Drawn to the Surface Tattoo and Piercing Studio, and also our friends here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. Once again, I'm Nate Mullins, and I'm sitting here with my special guest, Coach Judd Lutz. Coach, man, it's been a heck of an offseason, and I feel like every time we get to this point, the time in between the end of the season and beginning of the season just keeps getting shorter. I don't know why. It just, to me, when I first started doing this, it felt like it was 2 years in between the end of the season and the beginning of the season. Now it's like, where did the time go?
You stay pretty busy in the offseason. You stay pretty busy. You pretty much roll from one sport to the next. So
Got to.
The
Man.
next one jumps on you pretty quickly, hopefully. But the days are long and the years are short.
That's right. Absolutely. So let's talk about your offseason, Coach. Last time we saw you on the sidelines was over in Clyde and at the hands of the eventual state champions, Toledo Central Catholic. You had a heck of a ride to get to that point. Just go back, reminisce just a little bit about just that journey last year and just how special that was.
Yeah, it was a great season overall. A lot of highlight-worthy stuff, for individual guys and accolades and, rewriting some history books statistically in a lot of ways, a lot of great matchups and great games throughout the season with really good teams. And obviously, found ourselves on the positive side of a lot of those and able to played really good football late in the season and went on a good stretch and won several playoff games before obviously running into a pretty good team in Toledo Central Catholic. And, great season and not a lot of, football done for a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys playing at the next level now collegiately, which is awesome, and they get to continue with their careers and still staying in touch, obviously, with the guys who graduated and aren't, still playing but are on to bigger and better things. And got to turn the page for the new wave and a new group coming in.
That was a special group of talent that you had assembled over the last 4 years. Now, those are some huge shoes to fill. I always say big shoes. These are huge shoes because some of these kids were 4-year starters, 4-year player. At least they had some significant playing time for the last 4 years. Now, talk about some of these guys that have kind of been waiting for their opportunity. You've got some guys that are seniors, juniors, that really haven't had much playing experience, and they've been kind of biding their time. Talk about some of those guys.
Several guys in several key spots who, were either rotating or maybe getting some time, but obviously not the keynote guy at several spots, and it's because they're behind really good players. And obviously, you play to win at the varsity level, but they got great experience, at the JV level or as freshmen, when they were coming up. And so they've played a lot of football, but maybe not just varsity football yet. And so they're names that not many people know yet, but they're going to find out real soon. And there's always surprises, even coaches wise. It's just there's always every single year. Guys who you anticipate, being a contributor in this way and maybe a contributor in this way, and then they surprise you. Hopefully it's more good surprises than bad surprises, right. The guys you're counting on. But, every year there's surprises, and so we just have a lot more opportunity, hopefully, for those surprises because of all the new faces we're going to have. And so that's going to make it a lot exciting and why we're running really, toward coaching because that's nice when you have an inexperienced team. You get to coach a lot.
So last year, a lot of numbers on the offensive side of the ball. Running the ball, passing the ball. It seemed like whatever you guys wanted to do last year, you were able to do. Now, this year, it's a little bit different. You got some different faces involved. I feel like if you look at this team on paper, your defense looks really strong. You got a lot of returning starters or a lot of returning players on defense, some experience there. Talk about how going into this year, maybe the mentality might be a little bit different than it was last year. Because you're trying to put up a bunch of points last year. Right. Maybe that might not be the mentality right now. Maybe it's more trying to prevent the other team from scoring a lot of points.
Absolutely. We returned last year, contributors everywhere in the perimeter, outside, inside, and obviously quarterback and running back and also a couple linemen. So, you anticipate having success and being able to do a number of things. And then same thing defensively, who you have returning back. And so, we have to rewrite and rework what we do in a lot of ways on the offensive side because of losing so many key contributors. But you can't have turn over your playbook completely. And we always want to have a dynamic enough playbook offensively, defensively to keep a lot of similarities, but always be able to make tweaks and weigh into what you do well. Players, formations, plays is our coaching philosophy, and I've inherited and believe in. And so your players, every single year, you're going to lose a third and gain a third. You're going to lose a senior class and gain a new sophomore class. And so with that turnover comes possible changes. Hopefully not too much, because if you have kids in your system long enough and they learn it, they're going to be successful at it. And but you also have, we never as coaches want to ask a kid to do something he can't do. Put a square peg in a round hole, as they say. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what recipe with what ingredients we can come up with week in and week out.
So Braden Rogo moves on to Akron University, started his career there, kind of started his journey. Now, you've got a new face at the quarterback position this year. You want to talk about that at all? You want to give any kind of insight into what that's going to look like this year?
We return a young man named Zach Shawberry, outstanding athlete, I believe he lettered in track, as a high jumper a couple of years ago. He's an outstanding basketball player. And has played the quarterback position for a number of years. Last year was our third best outside receiver behind two Division II scholarship kids in Brady Gooding and Bryce Rogo. And he was the number 3 option on the outside behind 2 kids. So that tells you kind of what athlete Zach is and the ability with his feet and hand-eye coordination and athleticism. So obviously we feel like he can throw the ball pretty well too. So really excited for him to kind of put his stamp on this offense and show what he can do, because obviously he's been behind a good quarterback for a number of years and has waited his turn and stepped up a lot as a leader, as a vocal leader, as an exemplar leader, and kind of showing how to prepare to the younger guys too, and is really taking the bull by the horns. And so we're not going to ask him to do anything he can't do, but to be honest with you, there's not a whole lot we feel like he can't do, because he can run, he can throw, he's got great height and some measurables. So it's going to be exciting, and he's ready for it.
I was talking with Coach Otney, did a little bit of work with the students at Tiffin Columbian last year, trying to help them put together some PSAs. I was talking with Coach Otney, and he said, man, last year there was a point in time when Braden got sick during, I think it was a week of practice for, I think it was Bellevue. And he said, they had Zach come in and take some snaps for a couple of days during practice, and the guys from the team came up to him after practice after that second day and said, hey, if we got to roll with this guy, we're good. Yeah. And that's kind of how I think everybody feels this year. Fans don't really know what this kid brings to the table, but you guys know. You know what he's got.
Yeah, I told a story once or twice about last year we were working kind of half-field stuff, receivers on DBs and linebackers and stuff, and so I'm just where the ball is being snapped on air and watching our defense and offensive routes, the quarterbacks behind me, and so him and Braden were throwing and a couple other younger guys, and so at one point, we're like on the left middle, and there's a field comeback along the toughest throw to make, from the left hash to the deep comeback to the field. And, I just see this missile go out there, and we play it well defensively, and the ball is just placed at the right time, at the right spot, and it's complete, and turn around, and I'm getting ready to say, nice freaking ball, Braden, and it was Zach. And I was just like, ooh. Yeah. And, he's got the capabilities and abilities, and we're excited.
All right, so quarterback position. Now let's turn our focus to the running back position. Damian Brockington, all-time leading touchdown scorer in school history. Who's going to fill those shoes? Is this going to be a committee? I mean, because those are some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, he's a special player, and obviously playing at the next level, going to Wayne State, and rewrote a lot of record books for us. Top 10 career season touchdowns, rushing yards and all sorts of accolades, and a great player, great athlete, great young man. So we're going to probably put it together by committee just because of who we have, but really exciting because obviously he was a great slasher, really good out of the backfield, catching the ball, running the ball, and ran really hard even though he's a pretty undersized back. I don't know what I listed him at, but I know probably was more than he was. Where he's gotten bigger now for sure for the next level, which is awesome. So we kind of have a mix of guys who can all do a little bit of something really well. We don't have any complete running back, but we got guys who they can all catch it really well. Got guys who are bigger and physical. Got some guys who are slashers a little bit more so. And so it's going to be fun to see that group evolve and kind of see who surfaces, and feel good about 2 or 3 of them, probably maybe even 4 getting varsity carries. And so that's cool too, because you're going to have guys coming in running hard when you have guys who are only maybe going to get a handful of carries a game to start the year. So we'll see how that develops. But again, crystal ball wise, we got a plan and we'll see what it looks like.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about receivers. You got to replace 3 starting receivers this year. Now, obviously, 2 of those guys moving on Division II football. Talk about Jack Newlove coming back this year.
Yep.
He played some key minutes for you guys last year.
Yeah.
He's going to be the guy as far as the receiver core this year, correct?
Yep. Yeah, he's a 2-time returning starter on defense. Has 2 years starting at safety. Also, we moved him to corner later in the year with some matchups and some different teams, and so is an outstanding defensive player for us. And also was our next best slot receiver last year behind Jack Corper, who didn't have to leave the field offensively, so he didn't because he wasn't playing a lot of defense a whole lot of time. So they kind of just played offense defense. Were able to split, but came up with a big touchdown catch and over at B-Town against Buckeye. Medina Buckeye for his first one of the season at a really pivotal time right before halftime. So he's got all the capabilities. So now obviously his offensive, emphasis is going to lift maybe more from last year to this year. But we know he's got all the capabilities because he does have starting experience on that side of the ball. Just didn't have a ton of balls thrown his way necessarily. So that's definitely going to increase this year, and we feel really good about it.
Any other guys in that receiver core that are going to kind of pop out at you a little bit this year?
Johnny Bremeyer on the outside looks really, really good.
Yeah.
Deshaun Russell, Blake Miller on the outside, guys who, again, names that you don't know yet, but you're going to know.
I know those names.
And a number of guys. And so it's going to be exciting.
That's cool.
Dalen Brandeberry, number of different guys. I could go on and on and on, and I know I'm missing some, but yeah.
It's so exciting to hear some of these names, Greg, because these are kids that we coached in youth football that are coming up through the ranks now. Deshaun Russell, Blake Miller. I coached against Dalen Brandeberry. I mean, these kids are they're getting their opportunities now, and it's really exciting as a former coach to watch these kids just grow and grow through the system. Now, obviously, you've had these kids these young men now since they were in 7th grade. Talk about the growth and maturation of some of these guys. Because Deshaun didn't play football last year.
Yeah, a guy I forgot, Isaac Westner.
Yeah,
some of these guys have completely changed their bodies. With a year from freshman to sophomore to junior year because of the weight room program, what we do in the off season. They bought into. We have one of the best off seasons holistically this year than we've had in quite some time, which was awesome to see. A huge point of emphasis on different things, and they bought into it and have reaped some of those benefits. And guys who do not look the same, and their play obviously is showing it. So, the frustrating but not frustrating thing is just the lack of varsity experience. That's it.
Yeah.
And so mistakes are going to happen. We know that, but you have that even when we have returning starters, 2-year starters coming back early in season because they're still 16 and 17-year-old kids, believe it or not. So, that's why I lose sleep over it sometimes. Yeah. But that's what makes it exciting too.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And Michelle, Deshaun's mom posted a picture of him the other day in his football uniform. I'm like, he looks like a college kid now. Like he's a completely different kid now. All right, we're going to take a quick break, folks. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll break down the upcoming matchup versus Fremont Ross. Got any questions for Coach? Shoot them in the comments. We'll be right back after this. You're watching the Coach's Corner live here on Heart of Ohio Sports. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Heart of Ohio Sports. At Heart of Ohio Sports, it's obvious. The first thing that comes to mind is sports. But we do a lot more than just cover live sporting events. Go, go, go! When we want to watch our highlights from last night's game, there's only one place we go. Heart of Ohio Sports. We connect fans to the action like no one else can. As a business in today's market, you got to stay ahead of the game. And what better way than to get on board with the fastest growing brand in media today? I mean, you can take it from me, but you can just listen to them.
When recruiters want to see our game film, we tell them they can watch it on Heart of Ohio Sports.
Welcome to Your Legacy Federal Credit Union, your trusted community credit union for over 70 years. We're not just a credit union, we're your personal financial counselor. Your Legacy Federal Credit Union is a full-service financial institution tailoring solutions to your needs. Whether it's your first home or planning for the future, we're here to help you find success. Your Legacy Federal Credit Union, a legacy built on trust, commitment, and community.
Your legacy, your legacy.
Heart of Ohio Sports gives fans the access they want when they want it. And the athletes get the coverage they deserve. Our broadcasts are free and they always will be. We don't hide behind a paywall.
When my family can't come to the games, they always watch on Heart of Ohio Sports.
Heart of Ohio Sports is owned by Mullins Entertainment and located inside Studio Squared in downtown Tiffin. The space features a state-of-the-art podcast studio, open for public use. Building a platform for creators is one of our top priorities. Stop down to Benchwarmers in Tiffin or call it in for delivery. Fresh cut fries, locally sourced ingredients, and phenomenal service. Give the Tiffin store a call at 567-268-9268 and place your delivery order now. Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. You're locked in to the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Heart of Ohio Sports. All right, welcome back to the Coach's Corner live here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. Take a moment and thank our sponsors for allowing us to bring this broadcast to you once again. We want to thank Xcaret Mexican Restaurant, Your Legacy Federal Credit Union, Drawn to the Surface Tattoo and Piercing Studio, as well as our friends here at Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. We're still sitting here with Tiffin Columbian head football coach Judd Lutz. Coach, let's talk about your matchup coming up this Friday at Frost County Stadium, your home opener in front of the home crowd. Don't have to travel this year for the first week. So talk about what it's like to play that first game in front of the crowd there at Frost County.
You know, it's always special. You know, we've been playing Fremont Ross week 1 for quite some time now, since my return at least, and it's great because football is important in that community, just like football is important in our community, and so early season, you know, high anticipation. You know, no one's lost a single game, everyone's undefeated, and so it's always been a great draw, a great crowd, no matter what. And makes for a great atmosphere, whether at their place or our place. And obviously, we like the comforts and confines of our own stadium. Yeah. And obviously, it's also Hall of Fame weekend for us. You know, with some awesome inductions this year. And so really excited to see all those faces and people coming back who maybe live a little bit further away. So it should be a great event and hopefully a great game.
Yeah, and it's usually a packed house. That first game, I mean, obviously the big games bring everybody out, but that first game, everybody comes out for because everybody's been chomping at the bit waiting to get back at it. Now, talk about Fremont Ross. They are returning a quarterback from last year, one of the few teams in the area returning a starting quarterback from last year. Talk about the preparation that goes into this game. From that standpoint, you have to prepare for an experienced quarterback. What's that preparation like?
Obviously, you look at, you know, returning players and starters, and, you know, in the offseason, you always want to be successful early in the year, your week 1, week 2, week 3 games. So you kind of start, you know, potentially kind of doing some planning and research in the offseason for those, as well as your, you know, conference opponents in late season games too. But a lot changes, usually by midseason to late season sometimes. So, you know, you look at who they have coming back, and they had a number of offensive linemen that are coming back, some really good guys, you know, scholarship guys, and they're going to play at the next level, and they're really, really big. They have probably the biggest up front, you know, this year than they've probably been since we've been playing them here the last handful of years, and have a really good quarterback. as far as an athlete behind him. He's their starting middle linebacker. So it says a lot about his toughness and, intellect. He's a smart kid and probably a great leader. And so for 2 years now, they've trusted him with the football, and he's shown a lot of ability and growth since last year into these early season scrimmages. And so they got some great pieces around him. Several running backs that are different, in different ways with their capabilities. So behind that really big offensive line and a couple weapons on the outside and their running back quarterback combinations of running, it's going to be a tough defensive matchup for us.
What do you think their strength is that you have to try to identify going into this matchup? What is their strength that you're trying to stop this week?
It really looks like they've invested heavily kind of in their zone read game, and try to always be reading somebody, put somebody in a bind, and then also, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly and into the perimeter and, stretching you laterally, with different reads and the ability of the quarterback run game vertically and running back run game vertically, but also a little bit laterally, but also stretching with their athletes, formationally too, that you got to respect, because if you don't, then they could also run by you on the outside. So I think they really like their front five and feel like, they don't have to be really dynamic in a bunch of different schemes. They haven't shown too many, and I think they just are trusting those guys to swallow up, their five most dangerous and make the quarterback, running back responsible for the 6th and 7th with different reads and nakeds and stuff like that. So I think they have a good recipe and a good plan for sure for who they have coming back. And I know Coach Long really well, and I root for him usually 9 games out of the year, just not this one.
That's right. So let's talk about your relationship with Coach Long. Obviously, you guys, there's a history there, not just him being on Columbian coaching staff, but also obviously you guys been coaching against each other for the last 3-4 years now, or 5, 6, 7 years now. Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time, man. My mind, time flies. Mm-hmm. So what is your relationship like going into this game? Obviously, you don't talk a whole lot during the week or during the weeks leading up to this matchup, but during the regular season, that's somebody that you kind of confide in, right? Like,
absolutely. Yeah. Coach Long was my position coach and then defensive coordinator my senior year of high school. He came over my junior year after he graduated from BGSU, and so that really kicked off, our relationship. And he was a player's coach back then, and I got a ton of respect from a lot of people, and so we've stayed in touch pretty much since I was, 16, 17 years old, and I'm not going to name my age out now, but I've known him longer in my life than I haven't known him in my life, and so that's pretty cool. And he's stayed in it and does things the right way and has a young family. Then there's just a ton of respect, and I think he would probably say some of the similarities, hopefully mutually too. And the Coach Gilbert coaching tree and those connections obviously are really special. And like I said, it's a game that we talked about earlier this week, via text with some stuff that we look forward to but also hate. And you look forward to it, but obviously know, that can be bittersweet in some regards, but at the same time, it's really sweet when you win. And that's the goal.
Absolutely. All right, Coach, let's talk about some of the matchups. Where do you guys feel like you have an advantage coming into this matchup here on Friday?
I think, the disadvantage is also the advantage in, so many new players in that, we've had 2 scrimmages, but we've really tried to stay balanced and play a lot of different guys who are battling for positions in those scrimmages and stuff. And so it's important to give guys experience that need the experience, but also you have, a lot of competition in several positions for starting spots and then key reserve spots. And so, if I were to game plan against us, there'd be a lot of unknowns still because of just lack of knowing who can do what necessarily. And so our advantage probably is some of the unknowns. But at the same point, feel like we have good team speed, top to bottom. And so I think that has shown up on film and hopefully shows up on Friday.
Absolutely. All right, Coach. So going into this matchup, obviously, you have to put last year behind you. You got to put the results from the last few years behind you. What's the expectations for this year? What are the goals that you've set for this group?
The goals have never changed since I, came back in 2016. The goals are, win the SBC, qualify for the Ohio High School playoffs, and win the state championship. Those are the goals every single year. If you're not going to have those goals, those lofty goals, then why strap them up? The goals aren't like, get some kids some experience and have fun. Like, you want to do all those things on the way to having those high-achieving goals, but that's also not our mission. Like, we talk about those are the goals, and those never ever change. But so does the mission. And so we have 4 pillars: love, discipline, respect, relentless. And those pillars hold up our mission, which is to build good men. And so everything we got to be about in preparing to do those goals also have to have the mission at hand too. And so if it comes down to the mission over the goal, or the goal over the mission is going to win. The mission's going to win. And so if it means a young man's not making good choices and we have to do some things that could be detriment to winning a football game, we're going to do that. And I got to put my, sometimes do things that I don't want to do, but we've done it over and over, and usually it's for the best thing for that young man, and we're usually better as a team because of it. So those are the goals. The standard is the standard.
The standard is the standard.
And yeah, we'll see.
All right, so I just want one more question for you, Coach, here before I wrap things up. I think I have a viewer question as well that I got to ask, a couple of them maybe.
Okay.
But just talk about what it means to you to coach at Tiffin Columbian, because you're an alumni. You came back here. You came back here because you wanted to build something, and it's obvious during your time here that you've built something pretty special. The foundation that you've built, you've been able to capitalize off the success of that foundation since you've been here. Talk about what it means to you to be a Tiffin Columbian Tornado head football coach.
Yeah, I remember the interview process. I'm not too far removed from that, and one of the questions, or I think one of the ideas that came up and that I told that committee when they were going through that process was, being an alumni and how important this place is and it's home. Back then, when it wasn't home, because I was obviously somewhere else and doing coaching elsewhere, teaching elsewhere. Was if I'm not the best man for the job, don't hire me because I'm an alum. Like hire as an alum, and how important this program is to me, hire the best person for the job, because that's what I think of the program. And so obviously they thought I was, at least at the time, and we've tried to build it the right way and on the rock, and have a great foundation from the beginning to, hopefully reap rewards down the stretch year in and year out. And so, my dad for a long time had a whole lot of sayings, early bird gets the worm, and a penny saved is a penny earned. And one of his sayings that our players all know really well is leave it better than you found it, whatever it is. And so, when I took over the program and, to present day, hopefully we've left it better than we found it, for whoever that might be, if I croak tomorrow or if I get to do this for 30 more years, whatever that might be. So, proud of it, but at the same point, when you're in it, you don't have a whole lot of time to rest on your laurels and celebrate too much. Hopefully there's many celebrations along the way, but someday we will.
It's not very often guys land their dream job right after being an assistant coach, but this is your dream job.
Yeah.
You can tell you were fit, you were made for this job, and I respect the hell out of you, man. You do a great job over there.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, Coach, I do have a viewer question, I believe. Greg, right? I know we had a question from Greg Shook earlier today. He wanted to know what's the possibilities of a matchup with Akron St. Vincent St. Mary sometime in weeks 1 through 3. He says 2025 they're moving up. They're moving down to D3. Mm-hmm. So what's the chances?
We are always looking for non-conference opponents because sadly we are in a conference of only 5 other teams or 6 other teams, I think, in our alignment. So it's really difficult to find non-conference games, and it's really difficult to play non-conference games around here, sadly, just because of, similar-sized schools that you aren't already playing, similar-sized schools who don't have, conflicts already with opponents to play, and number 4, but might be number 1 is similar-sized schools who want to actually play you as well. So that's why we're making trips to Chardon and Columbus to play Bishop Watterson and wherever else they may send us if they say yes. So what's the likelihood? We'll see.
Let's talk.
We'll see.
Hey, Greg, you get your people and we'll get his people. We'll get them together. How about that? Does that work?
Yeah.
Any other viewer questions, Greg?
No, just a lot of comments about good luck this Friday and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you got the support of Tornado Nation right now for sure.
We appreciate it. We can feel it.
All right, Coach. Any final thoughts? Any shout-outs you want to give out there?
Just shout out, obviously, to you guys first and foremost. What you guys do is awesome for our community, for our fans everywhere and elsewhere. And I wish my NIL deal was somehow connected to it and I got to make the millions. But even with not, it's pretty awesome. When you get to go out in the community and I get to touch base with guys, who are states away doing things that are alumni or just fans of the program, and they get to watch us on free of charge.
That's cool.
That's awesome, and that's really cool because not every community has that. And so I hope our people take advantage of those opportunities, but also come watch the replays. Come to the game and then watch the replay. And if there's those situations you can't, obviously tune in. But
prime example of watch the replay.
Yeah.
I heard a couple of graduation parties had the Chardon game playing, or a couple of games playing while they were just kind of mingling and having fun during the graduation party. I mean, that's the kind of atmosphere we try to create with this. You know, it doesn't have to be just watch it live. You can go back and watch these anytime you want. They're all classics.
And that's why I schedule these terribly far away games and get them to come in so that we can have highly competitive games that are history-making, forever-watching opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate it, Coach. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you guys. All right, that is going to be the rest. That's going to be it for us here on the Coach's Corner. I want to thank Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery for being such a gracious host. I also want to thank our sponsors, including Xcaret Mexican Restaurant, Your Legacy Federal Credit Union, and Drawn to the Surface Tattoo and Piercing Studio. For Greg Kinn and Jacob Ellis, I'm Nate Mullins, signing off from Benchwarmers Restaurant and Delivery. You've been watching the Coach's Corner right here on Heart of Ohio Sports.
My Berea, don't you know I've thought about you all day? Yeah, I've been longing for some beef and some consomme. Sweet Berea, this is surely going to my thighs. Well, I'm a hungry eater and you surely caught my eyes. My Berea, I love you so. Oh, my Berea, Berea, I love you so. I love you.
How's it going, sports fans? It's game day, and the food is hot here at Xcaret Mexican Restaurant. Before you settle in to watch the game, whether you're by yourself trying to figure out what you want for dinner, trying to figure out how to feed a bunch of people, why not consider some delicious grub from Xcaret Mexican Restaurant? Today, we're highlighting the birria ramen. That's right, I'll say it again. Birria ramen. Oh my goodness, I think I just got my mic wet. How do you birria? I have to have a lime. And you're gonna get the best, juiciest limes right here at Xcaret Mexican Restaurant. Look at all that juice. So here we have the birria ramen. Oh, this looks so good. I'm digging in. I can't look at it anymore. All right, here we go. That should not be allowed to be that good. My goodness. Folks, get on over here. Get yourself some of this birria ramen. Let them know you heard about it on Heart of Ohio Sports. Why are you still watching me eat? You could be eating this right now. Don't you just want to dig in? I could eat this whole bowl right now. And I'm going to. But I'm not going to make you watch me do it. Tell you what. Call in your order. Xcaret Mexican Restaurant. Birria ramen. The only place you're going to find this in town, folks. I'm telling you. This is a home run right here. Get it. Get it. Get it. Get it. Xcaret Mexican Restaurant. Whether you're a diehard fan rooting for the home team, or you're just looking for some tasty eats for your game day treats, the birria ramen is our featured item here on this game day grub segment, and you're going to want to call in your order now. That's right, call Xcaret Mexican Restaurant. Mention you saw this segment on our broadcast. You'll get 15% off your order. Take advantage of this birria ramen special at Xcaret Mexican Restaurant. Oh, and don't forget the queso.